You find that one song. You know the one. The second it ends, you hit replay. Not once, not twice, 20 times, 50 times, until everyone around you is sick of it, but you're not. You're not even close to being done with it. People think you're weird, obsessive, stuck in a loop. But here's what neuroscience just discovered. Your brain isn't broken. You're engaging in something called auditory self-regulation, using music's predictable emotional structure to manage your internal state. And what looks like obsession from the outside is actually sophisticated emotional control from the inside. Let's start with something that's going to completely reframe how you see this habit. Music neuroscientist Dr. Valerie Salimpour at McGill University discovered that when you listen to music you love, your brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter associated with reward, motivation, and pleasure. But here's what's remarkable. The dopamine doesn't just release during the music. It releases in anticipation of your favorite parts. Your brain learns the structure of the song and it starts releasing dopamine right before the chorus, before the beat drop, before that one lyric that hits differently. When you listen on repeat, you're not just hearing music, you're experiencing a perfectly predictable dopamine cycle that you completely control. And in a chaotic, unpredictable world, that controlled emotional experience is incredibly valuable. Because here's what most people don't understand about song repetition. It's not about the song itself, it's about what the song does for your nervous system. Research from the University of London found that familiar music activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the network responsible for rest, recovery, and emotional regulation. When life feels overwhelming, uncertain, or emotionally intense, your nervous system seeks safety. And nothing says safe to your brain quite like something completely familiar. That song you've heard 200 times. Your brain knows every note, every beat, every emotional shift. There are no surprises, no threats, no uncertainty, just predictable comfort. You're not stuck. You're actively choosing the psychological safety of the known. Here's a truth about human emotional experience that most people miss. Emotions aren't problems to be solved. They're experiences to be felt. And in a world that constantly tells you to stay positive and move on and not dwell on things, sometimes you need to dwell. You need to sit in that feeling until you've fully processed it. You need to feel that sadness until it's complete. You need to experience that longing, that anger, that joy until you've integrated it. The song on repeat gives you permission to do that. While everyone else is forcing themselves to get over it, you're actually working through it at your own pace. Here's something else researchers discovered that validates this completely. Dr. Elizabeth Margulies at Princeton found that musical repetition creates what she calls extended exposure effect. Each time you hear the song, you notice new layers, a background instrument you missed, a lyric that hits differently, an emotional nuance you didn't catch before. The song isn't getting repetitive. You're getting deeper into it. You're extracting more meaning with each listen. First time you hear the melody. Fifth time you catch the lyrics. 20th time you feel the emotional architecture. 50th time the song becomes a part of your emotional landscape. You're not stuck, you're going deeper. And here's what they won't tell you in mainstream psychology. Control is a psychological need. You can't control most of your life. You can't control other people, circumstances, the economy, the world, but you can control what song plays next. You can control your emotional environment to that extent. And that tiny island of control, the ability to create your own predictable emotional experience, matters more than people realize. When everything else feels chaotic, you have this song, this feeling, this choice. That's not small, that's survival. Research shows that people who actively manage their emotional environments through music, routines, and other self-regulation strategies have better mental health outcomes than people who passively accept whatever emotional state circumstances create. You're not being obsessive. You're being intentional about your internal experience. You're exercising agency in the one domain you completely control, your own emotional atmosphere. Research by Dr. Laura Ferrari shows that the brain's reward response to music is strongest in people with high musical sensitivity, those who experience music more intensely than average. If you're someone who replays songs endlessly, you're likely experiencing music at a depth others don't. You're not hearing it the same way they are. For them, it's background noise. For you, it's an emotional event. Of course, you need more time with it. You're processing more. And here's something about emotional regulation through music that's profound. Dr. Jane Edwards' research on music and well-being found that self-selected music you choose yourself, is significantly more effective for mood regulation than therapist-selected or researcher-selected music. Your brain knows what it needs. That song you keep replaying, you didn't choose it randomly. Some part of you recognized that this particular combination of melody, rhythm, lyrics, and emotional resonance is exactly what you need right now. Trust that. Here's the hard truth. You live in a world that prizes novelty over depth, new songs, new shows, new content, always consuming, never savoring. But depth doesn't come from breadth. Understanding doesn't come from skimming the surface of everything. Sometimes you need to dive deep into one thing until you've extracted everything it has to offer. That song on repeat isn't limiting you. It's teaching you something about sustained attention, about emotional depth, about staying with an experience long enough to truly understand it. And here's something worth considering. For most of human history, people didn't have access to unlimited music. They had the songs their community knew, songs sung around fires, at gatherings, during rituals, the same songs repeated endlessly across lifetimes, and those songs served crucial functions: emotional bonding, cultural transmission, memory preservation, collective emotional processing. Your tendency to repeat one song isn't modern dysfunction, it's ancient wisdom. You're using music the way humans have always used it, not as disposable entertainment, but as a tool for emotional and psychological work. So here's what you need to understand. That song on repeat is doing something for you, even if you can't articulate what, even if others don't get it. Your nervous system is using it to regulate, your emotions are using it to process, your brain is using it to create predictable comfort in an unpredictable world. Don't apologize for that. Don't justify it. Don't let anyone make you feel weird for knowing what you need and taking it. The world will always try to rush you through your feelings, to distract you from your emotions, to convince you that moving on quickly is the same as healing. But you know better. You know that sometimes you need to sit in that feeling for 200 plays of the same song until you've fully felt it, until you've completely processed it, until you're actually ready to move on. Not because someone told you to, but because you're done.